A text message from Miyuki appears on a phone screen. She apologizes to Eiji, explaining that something came up with her club activities and she can't get out of it. He replies, telling her it's okay and wishing her luck with practice. As the train clacks along the tracks, Ono Eiji sits alone, his phone still in hand. He reflects internally that this was supposed to have been their special birthday date. His thoughts drift to her. Amada Miyuki, his childhood friend, had become his girlfriend after he confessed to her last Christmas. He recalls how, even after half a year, their hesitation has kept them from even sharing a kiss. He feels like an awkward fool, unable to talk to her properly, especially since they were always just childhood friend before. The train continues its journey past the city buildings. He had gone all out for today, never imagining she would cancel their very first date as a couple. Despite the cancellation, he finds himself standing in front of the movie theater where he was supposed to meet Miyuki. He stands alone amidst the crowd. His mind wanders, picturing them holding hands, and Miyuki sitting beside him in the darkened theater, her expression serene. He shakes his head, a blush creeping across his face as he snaps back to reality, chiding himself for daydreaming. Just then, a sight freezes him in place. A couple is locked in a passionate kiss nearby. The sudden intimacy makes him pause, a sense of confusion washing over him. His eyes scan the surrounding area, a flicker of recognition or unease on his face as he takes in the crowd. His unease solidified into shock as he realized where he was, the Love Hotel district. His face flushed, a stark contrast to the couple strolling casually around him. For a fleeting moment, his mind conjured an image of what could have been. The two of them, alone in a room, an awkward and nervous tension hanging between them as she gestured towards him. The fantasy shattered, leaving him feeling like an idiot. He decided to head back, but his intention was cut short by an unbelievable sight. He heard Miyuki's voice telling her senpai to stop, and his eyes widened in alarm. He stared, unable to process the scene. There she was, Amada Miyuki, smiling brightly as she held onto the arm of a tall, light-haired man. In a choked voice, he called out her name. Her smile vanished instantly, her eyes widening in horror as she saw him. Eiji, she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. The man beside her simply watched the exchange. Recovering slightly, she took a small step back, her voice trembling as she demanded to know why he was there. Ignoring her question, he surged forward and grabbed her wrist. He started to apologize, his voice cracking, but she cried out, telling him he was hurting her. In an instant, the light-haired man intervened, his fist connecting with Eiji's face in a brutal, swift motion. The impact sent him reeling, and he crumpled to the ground against a nearby wall, stunned by the sudden violence. Before he could recover, the man was on him, yanking him up by his hoodie. He snarled, demanding to know what Eiji thought he was doing to his girl. Then came the final, crushing blow, an accusation that it was Miyuki who had been cheated on, leaving Eiji utterly bewildered and on the verge of tears. His mind reeled from the accusation as the light-haired man sneered, calling him a stalker. The man then turned to Miyuki, urging her to speak up as well. He continued his verbal assault, suggesting Miyuki tell Eiji that she only dated him out of obligation as a childhood friend, that she found him boring, or even that his sweaty hands were gross. Eiji could only stare in horror, whispering her name. A chilling realization struck him. The man's words were familiar. Miyuki had said those very things to him when they were intimate. As Miyuki trembled, the man questioned her hesitation, offering to end their affair right there if she truly cared for Eiji. Nearby, Eiji's hand clenched into a tight fist, his mind racing over what he had just heard. He then issued a harsh ultimatum to Miyuki, demanding she make a choice: break up with him or break up with Eiji. Panic seized Miyuki. She pleaded with the man not to abandon her, crying that she wouldn't be able to live if he left. Her desperate plea seemed to satisfy him. He pulled her close, turning his back on Eiji, who could only watch, frozen in disbelief. He gently patted her head, a sinister grin spreading across his face as he told her that her understanding was all that mattered. His victory secured, he turned Miyuki to face Eiji once more. He commanded her to say, clearly and out loud, who Eiji was to her. Hesitantly, she began to speak his name. Her face obscured by shadow, she delivered the final blow. Eiji, she stated, was her childhood friend, but now, he was just a clingy stalker. She continued her public denunciation with a strained smile, labeling him a horrible, abusive boyfriend. His eyes widened in shock and disbelief, his voice cracking as he could barely stammer out her name. The light-haired man held Miyuki close, a smirk on his face as he instructed her to properly inform the delusional stalker. Averting her gaze from Eiji, Miyuki stated that she could no longer be with him. He later recalled her final, cutting words, a command not to speak to her at school anymore. From that day forward, his happy, everyday life began to fall apart. He returned to his family's restaurant, Kitchen Ono, looking utterly dejected. A man in a bandana and a woman greeted him, their welcoming words laced with concern over his early arrival. The man asked if he had skipped school, offering to make him something to eat, but Eiji, his face shrouded in shadow, quietly insisted he was fine. He retreated into solitude. Paralyzed by the shock, he remained in bed, feeling that all he could do was wait for time to pass. This pattern repeated over and over. The woman from the restaurant would check on him, asking if he was eating as he stared blankly at his food. Each time, he would quietly confirm that he was not. Even sleep offered no respite, as he was plagued by the same kind of nightmares. causing him to weep while unconscious. His nightmares were cruel visions of her with the light-haired man. In them, she spoke of how disgusting and clingy Eiji was, twisting their childhood friendship into a delusion. As her senpai carried her away, she called out his title. He watches through a fractured, heart-shaped void as the nightmare continues. Miyuki's voice urges her lover to forget the creepy guy and focus only on her, her words punctuated by soft moans of pleasure. The torment jolts him from his sleep. He sits up abruptly, eyes wide with horror, sweat beading on his face as he silently pleads for the visions to stop. He remains sitting on the edge of his bed, hunched over in the quiet darkness. The nightmares have become so relentless that he has grown afraid of even trying to fall asleep. This dread follows him into the daylight hours at school. The sight of other students walking together is a constant, painful reminder, forcing him to press himself against a wall to regain his composure. His attempt to remain unnoticed is broken when a friend cheerfully throws an arm around his shoulders, asking if there is any news with Amada-san. Eiji can only muster a weak, hollow laugh in response. Just then, a familiar voice cuts through the noise of the hallway, calling his name. He turns to see Miyuki walking with another girl, her attention fixed on him. The sight of her sends his mind reeling back to a childhood memory. A girl named Kodon had suddenly asked if there was someone he liked. When he became flustered, she pointed out that even Miyuki talked about such things, before playfully suggesting that maybe she should just become his bride instead. She then burst into laughter, teasing him for taking her joke so seriously. The young Eiji, completely embarrassed, could only look away. The memory fades, returning him to the present. He watches Miyuki as she walks toward him, his expression hardening with a newfound resolve. As she draws closer, she seems to notice the change in his demeanor. Her own expression shifts to one of confusion and concern as she softly speaks his name like a question. Eiji. She stands silently as her friend steps between her and Eiji, leveling a harsh accusation. The friend calls him an abusive creep and warns him to stay away from Miyuki, leaving Eiji stunned by the sudden hostility. The friend presses her verbal assault, threatening that if he continues stalking Miyuki, she won't let him get away with it. Utterly bewildered, Eiji can only stammer in confusion as the friend turns to Miyuki, urging her to leave. He watches them go, his shoulders slumping in defeat as he quietly agrees. As they walk down the hall, the friend advises Miyuki that she can't simply ignore stalkers and needs to handle them properly. Later, the exterior of a restaurant named Kitchen Ono stands under the daylight. In his room, Eiji is jolted from his rest by the vibration of his phone. He glances at it before burying his face in his pillow with a frustrated sigh. His eyes widen in shock as he reads the message on the screen. It's from an unknown email address, and the content is chillingly direct. Die. You're disgusting. The hateful message continues, each line a venomous accusation. Abusive scumbag. Violent jerk. His mailbox is flooded with a barrage of similar messages. The words blur together into a cacophony of insults. Violent creep, stalker, abusive guy, all demanding he just drop out. He stares at the screen, a cold sweat breaking out on his brow. A desperate thought races through his mind. He hasn't done anything to deserve this. As more messages pour in, calling him a disgrace and a toxic jerk, urging him to quit school, the pressure becomes too much. With a cry of frustration, he hurls the phone away from his bed. The next day, he walked through the school hallway, his head bowed and his expression heavy with the weight of the previous night's events. He passed other students and teachers, including Miyuki, lost in his own turmoil. He paused at the classroom door, his hand trembling as he reached for the handle. A cold sweat beaded on his brow as he tried to steady his nerves, telling himself that everything was fine. He just had to act like it was a normal day. Taking his seat, a frustrated sound escaped him. His head snapped up, his eyes wide with alarm, as he realized the classroom chatter seemed to be directed his way. The whispers and glances of his peers were unmistakable. The whispers intensified, twisting the classroom into a dark, oppressive space. In his perception, his classmates became shadowy figures, their silent judgments echoing around him like a physical assault. They called him an abusive freak, the enemy of women, creepy, trash. The venomous thoughts closed in, demanding that he get lost, that he just die. At his desk, Ono Eiji is confronted by one of Miyuki's friends. She slams her hands down, shouting at him to shut up, calling him a criminal. She vehemently states that there is no way Miyuki would lie, while Eiji can only think to himself that he didn't do anything. Her accusation continues, adding that even Kondo-senpai from the soccer club said he saw it. Eiji's eyes widen in shock as he processes the reality of the situation. Two of the school's most popular students are aligned against him. She points an accusatory finger, declaring that anyone would know who to believe in this situation. Eiji, cast in shadow, lowers his head, no longer wanting to hear any of it. Overwhelmed by the confrontation, he collapses forward, burying his face in his arms on the desk, wondering how everything went so wrong. The social isolation becomes palpable. While his classmates laugh and chat together inside the classroom, Eiji sits utterly alone on an outdoor bench, quietly eating his lunch. He listlessly picks at a cherry tomato with his chopsticks, his expression vacant and heavy with despair. A notification pings on his phone. It's a message from the club president, announcing that the day's club activities have been suddenly canceled. He looks over at his classmates, realizing with a heavy heart that there's no one left in class he can rely on. A sliver of hope appears. He reasons that even if the meeting was canceled, someone might still be in the clubroom. Perhaps he could talk to someone, ask for help. He approaches the door, reaching out to slide it open as he calls for the president. Before he can enter, he overhears voices from inside. A female student confirms to a male one that she lied to Ono, telling him the club was canceled. The male asks what they should do with the drawing he made. Her reply is chillingly casual. She already threw out. The cruel words land like a physical blow. Tears stream down Eiji's face as he listens to them continue, calling him pathetic and remarking that he has no talent, despite trying so hard on the manuscript. The betrayal is absolute. He arrives in his classroom to a scene of petty destruction. His books and papers are strewn across the floor, torn and discarded next to his desk. A closer look at the scattered pages reveals hateful words scrawled over his work, a clear and malicious message. The weight of the constant harassment presses down on him, and the crushing thought sinks in. He really doesn't have anyone on his side anymore. Just then, a sliver of hope emerges. He considers that the vice homeroom teacher, Ai might still be in the classroom. He approaches the room and peers through the window, spotting teacher Ai speaking with Amada Miyuki. He overhears Miyuki telling the teacher that she seems to have been troubled lately. Miyuki offers a faint smile, assuring her it's fine. Ai observes that it's unusual for Amada to be struggling and wonders if she got caught up in something because she's too kind, offering to talk with her about it later. The teacher's kind words spark a memory for him. He recalls her promising that she would definitely be on his side, calling him an outstanding student. The thought gives him a surge of determination. Feeling emboldened, he walks to his shoe locker, but his newfound resolve instantly shatters at the sight before him. His face twists in horror. Stuffed inside is a crumpled flower and a threatening note warning him not to snitch, accompanied by a single, chilling word on another slip of paper: die. Overwhelmed by fear, he turns and flees the school building without a second thought. In the distance, Amada Miyuki and other students watch him run. He arrives home, the bell on the door clacking as he enters. A woman greets him, welcoming him back and noting his early return from school, as he has no club activities today. He quietly confirms that he is home. She clarifies that his club meeting was canceled at the last minute. Observing his weary expression, she voices her concern that he hasn't been feeling well lately and urges him to rest properly. He offers a quiet word of thanks. A man joins them, reassuring him that children don't need to worry about their tired parents or brother. His only responsibility, the man insists, is to enjoy his time at school. The man elaborates with a smile, explaining that Eiji's older brother is doing his best to protect the family and their shop in their father's place. The woman adds that since their father's death, their mother has never cried in front of them, always maintaining a smile so they wouldn't have to worry. Hearing their words, he forces a bright smile and promises to do his best. Internally, however, he resolves that as long as he can keep enduring his own struggles, no one else in his family will have to be unhappy. Meanwhile, in her own room late at night, Amada Miyuki sits hunched over on her bed, unable to find peace as the clock on the wall ticks away. She clutches her blanket, her expression filled with exhaustion and sorrow. A single thought consumes her. Since that day, she has not been able to sleep. Her mind drifts back to a conversation with Kondo's senpai, who suggested that if she had only cried and told Eiji she didn't want to break up, things might have been different. In the present, she clutches her chest, wondering how everything went so wrong and wishing that day had been nothing but a dream. She recalls the moment she first saw Eiji being bullied, a memory that nearly brought her tears. She immediately chastises herself with the thought that she is the one who has no right to cry. Her thoughts trace back to the beginning, a simple, lovely conversation that sparked a relationship. Though she was happy, she felt their connection wasn't progressing. A friend, misunderstanding her concerns, had suggested she seek advice from Kondo's senpai, citing his supposed wealth of experience. She recalled her initial impression of Kondo's senpai. He was handsome, gentle, smart, and the ace of the soccer team. Despite these qualities, she had tried to refuse the suggestion to seek his advice. He seemed so different from her and Eiji, who were each other's first loves. Kondo senpai had a more mature view of relationships, a quality that she found incredibly attractive at the time. He had spoken to her with a disarming smile, joking that if he were in Eiji's shoes, he would have made a move immediately. Then, with a laugh, he'd added that no guy would be uninterested in a cute girl like her. His compliments continued as he suggested that Eiji was likely just intimidated by how seriously attractive she was. Changing the subject slightly, he offered to get her something to drink. The conversation had led to this, a kiss by the water, the city lights reflecting behind them. The moment felt intense, all-consuming. In that embrace, a devastating thought surfaced. Everything she was supposed to give to Eiji was being taken away by Kondo-san, and it wasn't taking long at all. Later, in a room together, he had reassured her, shifting the blame entirely. He claimed it was okay, that if someone didn't make a move on a girlfriend as attractive as her, it was their own fault. He insisted that she wasn't the one in the wrong. The one who had failed as a man, he declared, was Eiji. Part of her, she now admits, felt good about the guilt. Once she became completely dependent, there was no turning back. She had thought of him as the perfect mark. As these memories flooded back, she recalled his voice, asking to do it again. She recalls being in bed with Kondo-senpai as he casually suggested they hang out on the 30th, since his club activities were canceled. She hesitated, pointing out that the day was Eiji's birthday. In response to her hesitation, he dismissed her coldly, saying he would just ask another girl. Miyuki's eyes widened in shock at his ultimatum. He then declared he was tired of chasing her and wanted to end their affair. He claimed she always put Eiji first, which made him feel like he barely existed in her world, and that breaking up would make them both happier. Distraught, Miyuki pleaded with him to wait. The memory fades, and in the present, Miyuki covers her face in shame. She admits to herself that she chose Kondo-senpai because she was relying on the thought that Eiji would surely forgive her. She remembers her wedding day, believing that after 10 years, Eiji was her destined person. Yet, a nagging voice whispered otherwise, and she felt a desperate need to confess everything to everyone. Sitting alone on her bed, tears streaming down her face, she finally confronts the truth. It was she who lied and cheated. The realization leaves her terrified of losing everything. The scene shifts to a high school building under a daytime sky. The clock tower, showing it is mid-morning. Inside, Eiji's desk is littered with crumpled notes bearing hateful messages. His feet, splattered with ink, crush the papers beneath them. As he walks through the hallway, head bowed, other students whisper and stare. They call him violent and gross, spreading rumors that Kondo-senpai was the one who drove him off. He stops at the entrance to his classroom, confronted by a blackboard filled with insults. The words abusive guy, creep, and get out are scrawled around photos of him and his home. His torment wasn't confined to the school walls. It had spread to his home, where the words abusive guy's house were now scrawled across the wall of his family's shop. The sight struck him with the force of a physical blow. He could only stammer, "What?" as the realization crashed down upon him. It was because of him that his family, his father's shop, was now a target. A surge of desperate anger propelled him forward. He ran through the school halls, a single, frantic question echoing in his mind. Just why? He slammed open a door, seeking an answer. He found the source of his misery and confronted Kondo-senpai, his voice trembling with rage as he demanded to know why he would tell such a lie. Kondo-senpai simply smirked, asking with cruel amusement, "How's it feel, criminal boy?" The older student's grin widened as he answered with chilling simplicity, "Because it's fun." He savored Eiji's pain, musing that watching him lose his girl and everything else made for a great show. He leaned in closer, confessing that he loved wrecking other people's lives. He told Eiji he should just drop out, declaring it was Eiji's own fault for thinking someone like him could ever be with Miyuki. The weight of those words was too much to bear. Eiji's strength gave out, and he collapsed to his knees, a sense of utter hopelessness washing over him as he trembled, defeated. Later, in the infirmary, a woman in a lab coat looked over him as he lay in a bed. She informed him that she would let his homeroom teacher know what happened, to which he could only manage a muffled, "Thank you." After she left, he sat up in the bed, his gaze vacant as he stared out the window, the world outside seeming distant and unreal. He sat alone in the quiet room, the silence amplifying his despair. A single, crushing thought solidified in his mind. No one was going to help him. As he lay in the infirmary, his thoughts spiraled. He felt he couldn't even talk to his parents or his brother. In his mind, he saw Miyuki, convinced that even the teachers would believe the popular and capable girl over someone like him. His phone screen reinforced this total isolation, displaying a stream of hateful messages. "Creep, stop abusing, don't come to school, drop out." He felt completely finished, betrayed by Miyuki and his friends. With a year and a half left until graduation, he wondered how he was supposed to survive. Just then, a new message arrived, this one from his club president. His eyes widened in shock as he read the words. The president explained that after what Eiji supposedly did to Amada, the other club members were too scared, and they were asking him to stop coming to the club. Tears began to blur his vision as he stared at the screen, the message ending with a hollow apology. He couldn't accept it. It couldn't be true. But the denial shattered, and the tears streamed down his face. He grabbed his phone again, perhaps in a desperate attempt to connect with someone, only to be met with an error message. His friends had blocked him from even receiving digital gifts. This final, petty rejection was the last straw. He buried his face in his pillow and sobbed. Sometime later, having regained his composure, he stood before the school nurse. He apologized for the trouble, claimed he was fine now, and told her to take care of herself before turning to leave. He walked out of the infirmary and into a long, starkly white, and empty hallway. He sat down on a small bench, a grim resolution forming. For now, he would just get used to it. He would endure until his heart grew numb to people's cruelty. He sits alone, a dark silhouette hunched over on the steps, trying to convince himself that all he needs to do is endure. But the words of others echo in the darkness of his mind. Creep. He is besieged by a storm of hateful insults that swirl around him. Scum, filth, go to hell. The vitriol is relentless, his face a mask of grim resignation. The venomous whispers intensify, promising violence. Get lost. I'll kill you. His eyes narrow, reflecting a deep, simmering darkness. He finds himself by the rooftop door, his hand hovering near the handle. A new thought surfaces, a grim alternative to endurance. Perhaps jumping would make everything easier. Pushing the door open, he steps out onto the roof, the vast, clouded sky stretching out before him. He is not alone. A figure stands nearby, and he turns, his bleak expression shifting slightly with surprise. It is a girl, her light hair whipping across her face in the wind. She looks directly at him, her green eyes soft under the bright blue sky, a faint blush on her cheeks. He stares back, his own expression hollow. At the end of hopeless despair, with no escape in sight, he has found someone. On the school rooftop, separated by a chain-link fence, Ono Eiji stands opposite a girl with long, light-colored hair. She looks at him with a neutral expression and asks who he is. He introduces himself as Ono Eiji, a second-year student. He quickly adds that he is just skipping school and happens to be there by chance. Internally, however, he panics, clutching the back of his neck. He knows he cannot possibly admit that he came to the rooftop with the intention of jumping. The girl's expression shifts slightly as she recognizes his name, repeating it as a question. Ono Senpai. This is Ai Ichijo, a talented girl and the top student. With a kind personality and outstanding beauty, she became the school idol almost immediately after enrolling. Her popularity is such that even a few boys from Eiji's own class have apparently confessed their feelings to her. Knowing this, and aware of the bad rumors that follow him, Eiji asks to borrow the rooftop to hide until the lunch break. Ai wonders to herself about the unfortunate timing of his appearance. Her response is immediate and harsh. With a furious expression, she refuses, declaring that this is her place. She tells him she won't give it up and orders him to go somewhere else, to just disappear. Taken aback, he asks if she's aware of the rumors about him. She looks at him calmly and confirms that she knows. With that confirmation, she stares him down with utter disdain. In that case, she says, I refuse. Eiji is left speechless, his face a mask of shock. He remains on the ground, looking up at her. He acknowledges that he's heard the rumors, but before he can finish his thought, she stands impassively, her back partially turned to him. His voice rises in desperation as he asks if she understands it's just a rumor. She turns her head slightly, her expression unreadable, and states that she hasn't personally witnessed anything. His mind flashes back to a conversation with Miyuki. She had questioned why anyone would believe such one-sided stories, a sentiment that was met with a cynical response from Kondo's senpai, who likened romance to an illness. The memory shifts to a classroom, where he sat isolated at his desk, the target of whispers and judgment. He recalls the feeling of being lynched by his peers, who overreacted without knowing the truth. Returning to the present, he looks down, his face cast in shadow. He asks her directly, his voice filled with a quiet plea, if she will believe him. She looks at him intently, her arms still crossed. She declares that the one-sided rumors causing him pain are unfair. Then, with sudden intensity, she asserts that there is no reason for her not to believe him. Having made her declaration, she turns away with a dismissive sound. His eyes widen in complete shock, unable to process her sudden change in stance. Overwhelmed with emotion, tears well up in his eyes, and a blush spreads across his face. He manages to whisper a heartfelt, thank you. Her response is unexpectedly flat. She looks back at him, asking what he could possibly be thanking her for. Her own expression then shifts to one of surprise as she sees his emotional state. He looks up, a bright, tearful smile breaking through his previous despair. He remarks with a light-hearted laugh that she doesn't seem to understand the weight of her words. He looks up, startled, as rain begins to fall. He and Ai Ichijo stand together on the school rooftop, the sky suddenly turning gray. Concerned, he urges her to go inside, so she won't catch a cold. She remains unresponsive for a moment before quietly asking him to leave her alone, much to his confusion. Her quiet demeanor shatters. With a look of profound anguish, her face streaked with rain, she demands to know if he still doesn't understand the reason she was on the roof by herself. He recoils slightly, confused by her outburst, and asking what reason she's talking about. She dismisses his concern entirely, stating flatly that she doesn't care about getting wet or sick. Her voice trembles as she looks down, tears welling in her eyes. She confesses that for her, there is no tomorrow. The weight of her words hits him, his face contorting in shock and horror. He stammers, trying to calm her down as she begins to sob, hiding her face with her hands. Her plea turns into a desperate scream, begging him to leave her alone because she wants to die. Eiji can only stare, frozen by her declaration. As she turns away, he lunges forward and grabs her wrist, yelling for her to stop. He shouts that it's enough, pulling her back forcefully. The sudden motion causes her to lose her footing, and she cries out in pain as she stumbles and falls, her ankle twisting beneath her. She questions his motives, asking why he would try to protect her, noting the danger of the old, rusty fence. Before she can finish, he cuts her off with a shout, insisting that one doesn't need a reason to help someone in need. His impassioned plea leaves her momentarily speechless. He continues, his voice filled with urgency, suggesting that if she's truly set on dying, she should at least go out with him just for today. He implores her to skip school with him, his voice cracking with desperation. The unexpected proposition stuns her completely, her mind reeling in disbelief. She challenges him, asking if he truly comprehends the gravity of the situation to be suggesting they skip school. A part of her, however, feels that perhaps it can't be helped. He looks up, a faint, pained smile on his face, and makes a startling confession. He had come to the roof with the same intention of ending his own life. He remarks on the irony of finding himself trying to save a junior in the very same predicament. His words strike a deep chord within her, and tears begin to well in her eyes. The tears stream down her face as she finally sits down on the rain-soaked roof, a silent understanding passing between them. Through her tears, a smile breaks through, a mixture of sorrow and relief. She agrees to his proposal. He watches her, a gentle and relieved smile forming on his lips as the rain continues to fall around them. He sits beside Ai Ichijo by a chain-link fence, a quiet smile on his face as a light rain begins to fall around them. She gets to her feet, suggesting that for now, they should go inside. He looks up from his bag and agrees. Once they are out of the rain, he offers her a small towel, telling her to use it. Her hair and uniform slightly damp, she quietly thanks him. He insists that she shouldn't worry about it. His gaze lingers, his eyes wide. Noticing his stare, Ai blushes and asks him not to look so much, admitting that she's aware of the situation. She looks down with a slight flush on her cheeks, her white school blouse soaked through and clinging to her form. Her gaze shifts slightly to the side, a hint of embarrassment in her eyes. Breaking the awkward silence, she asks what they're going to do now. Facing away, Eiji apologizes, acknowledging that his staring was a form of sexual harassment. She turns to him with a gentle smile, reminding him that since he was the one who invited her to skip school, he must have some sort of plan. He meets her gaze, a thoughtful and determined look crossing his features. He smiles gently, his eyes closed as he clarifies his intentions. He admits that he wasn't trying to be cool. His actions were born purely from desperation. He continues, explaining to Ai that there is nothing cool about being a delinquent, especially with what he did. Her face breaks into a bright, relieved smile, and she lets out a happy laugh, agreeing with him completely. Her genuine reaction surprises him. He remarks that she can laugh so freely, which contradicts what he'd heard from classmates who had confessed to her in the past. At the mention of past confessions, her smile vanishes, replaced by a cold, hard expression. She questions why anyone would think she'd date someone she doesn't know, explaining that a sudden confession from a stranger only inspires fear. She elaborates, her gaze downcast, stating her belief that such suitors are only interested in her appearance and status, not in who she truly is. This confirms the stories he'd heard. Witnesses had indeed reported that she rejected her would-be suitors so completely that they were left shattered. Bringing the conversation back to the present, Ai smiles again, admitting she was surprised he accepted her proposal to skip school, as she had expected him to reject her, just as she rejects others. Eiji looks completely taken aback by this. After her admission, she presents him with a small, wrapped item. As they sit on the floor, she tells him it is a return gift. He unwraps it to find a warm onigiri. Completely flustered by the simple, kind gesture, Eiji stammers his thanks, asking if she has one too. He watches as Ai takes a bite of the onigiri, her eyes widening in delight as she declares that it's delicious. Hearing her praise, he explains that it's tuna mixed with mayonnaise, a classic from convenience stores. He seems surprised she's never had one before, and she quietly acknowledges this new information. Her gaze lowers to the snack in her hands, a blush spreading across her cheeks. She quietly reflects that while she was watching from afar, everyone else was eating such wonderful things. He smiles warmly, reassuring her that there are many other delicious foods for her to try as well. They stand together for a moment, a comfortable silence between them as he repeats his sentiment about all the delicious things in the world. His simple kindness seems to reach her, and she turns to look at him, her expression soft and her cheeks still faintly flushed. A new determination appears on her face. She repeats that the onigiri is delicious and declares that she is now interested. Seeing her resolve, Eiji turns towards a nearby door and begins to make a suggestion. He finishes his thought with a cheerful invitation, asking if she would like to come to his place. The unexpected question catches her completely off guard, leaving her flustered and speechless. After the surprising offer, they begin to walk together through the school's empty corridors. Their path is blocked when they reach the front gate. Ai points out that it's locked, wondering how they will leave. Undeterred, Eiji glances toward the pair of nearby bicycles and, with a resolute expression, announces that it's time to go. He reveals his plan. They're going to climb the fence. Ai's face flushes in alarm, and she protests that she's wearing a skirt. Seeing her distress, he quickly laughs and admits it was a joke. He then points to an iron door next to the main gate as their actual way out. He explains that the door can be unlocked from the inside, but once it closes, it locks automatically and can't be opened from the alley outside, making it a perfect one-way exit. She eyes him with suspicion, asking how he knows about such a thing. He smirks, replying that good students probably wouldn't know, and that it's fine to do this once in a while. With the plan settled, he confidently takes her hand and announces, "Okay, let's go." Their fingers interlace as they begin to walk forward together. A moment later, she glances over, noticing his reddened face. She asks what he's blushing about and tells him to hurry up, though he is clearly flustered by the contact. Her own gaze then drops to their joined hands, a faint blush on her cheeks. She wonders to herself if it is truly all right to be holding hands with a man she has only just met. They pause, and she admits that while it would be a lie to say she feels no hesitation, it also feels normal, like something from a play or a movie. With renewed determination, she turns and exclaims, "Let's go," before shyly adding that this is her first time holding hands with a man and asking him to be gentle. The confession leaves him completely stunned, his mind unable to process her words. He walks away from the school building, a faint blush on his cheeks. The simple act of holding her hand fills him with a profound sense of embarrassment. As they continue across the school grounds, Ai glances back, her own face flushed, questioning what he is doing. Her initial surprise melts away, replaced by a serene resolve. It is as if they are breaking away from the past, continuing onward without a single glance back. He mirrors her determination with a gentle smile, his gaze fixed ahead. Together, they face forward, ready for what comes next. Ai Ichiju's mind races with a single question. Why? She finds herself holding hands with Ono Eiji, wondering why she's trying to skip school with someone she has only just met. Her thoughts drift to another time, another person. She recalls a confident young man who had often been the subject of confessions. He had looked at her with a smile, promising that he would protect her. But those were precisely the words she didn't want to hear. The memory is tainted with discomfort. His promises had only triggered her trauma. The recollection brings forth a more recent, chaotic memory of her cowering as Ono Eiji stood before her, his expression one of pure shock. In that moment, she realized Ono Senpai was different. A faint blush warms her cheeks as she thinks about him now. He is such a good person, so genuinely kind, that it actually makes her worry. Her mind returns to the past, to walking hand in hand with that other boy. At the time, she had held onto a fragile hope, believing that if she was with him, she might finally escape the hell she was living in. The memory of that boy solidifies. Surrounded by an aura of self-importance, he introduces himself as Kondo Seiji. With unshakable conviction, he declares himself to be the man at the very center of the world. He reflects on his esteemed lineage and achievements. His father is a city councilman, and he himself gained entry into one of the top 3 most prestigious high schools in the prefecture. His talents extended to the athletic field. He became the ace of a weak soccer team, single-handedly leading them to the national tournament. His performance was so impressive that he was scouted by prestigious private universities. Kondo Seiji sees his life as a constant ascent. Since childhood, he has been different from others, with his superior intellect placing him at the top. His height, his high-level education, and his soccer talent all reinforce his belief that he can be the center of any team, the center of everything. He had always been popular, a fact that seemed as natural to him as breathing. Since his first girlfriend in the 3rd grade, he had never once been single. His thoughts drifted to a particular memory he would never forget from his time in the 8th grade. It involved the class idol and the resident otaku, who were in a relationship. He found their bond to be disgustingly pure. They were childhood friends, a couple who had never once doubted their shared destiny of marriage. It was a simple matter for him to intervene. Just as he had predicted, the girl fell for him with ease. Her affections shifted completely. She began to declare that having the otaku as a boyfriend was the greatest shame of her life, openly calling him gross. He watched her performance with contempt, silently dismissing her as a stupid woman playing the part of a tragic heroine. It was a stark contrast to how she had been before, laughing with her childhood friend, joking about being Destiny's partners. He found the memory absolutely hilarious. The cruelty was a masterpiece in his eyes. He had recorded the girl's insults and, finding the situation immensely funny, played the recording for the otaku to hear. The boy's world shattered. Tears streamed down his face as he stammered in disbelief, reminding her of her promise that they would one day marry. And in that moment of utter heartbreak, his own desire for conquest was satisfied. The feeling, he recalled, was incredibly good. He recalled the moment his plan came to fruition. The girl, her hair in braids, coldly told her now former boyfriend that they should break up. She declared that she had grown to enjoy stealing other women's men and that she would now be happy with him, even calling him tacky as he stood beside her. He knew the pattern well. Women who fell for his charm would inevitably let their studies slide, their grades plummeting as their focus shifted entirely to him. And so, as soon as high school began, he discarded her. He publicly explained to her friends that she was a stupid woman, incapable of understanding even the most obvious things, like how childhood friends can become bitter enemies. The girl confronted him, her voice trembling with disbelief. She demanded to know why he was breaking up with her, reminding him that she had thrown everything away just to be with him. In response, he simply held up his phone, tapping the screen. He then revealed what was on it, stating plainly that he despised loose women. With a look of utter contempt, he told her that he had come to hate her and that they were finished. Her face contorted in shock and horror at the revelation. The consequences were swift and brutal. The girl, once the idol of her class, was ostracized, her social life destroyed, leading her down a path of truancy and a bleak future. And as he remembered it all, a cruel smile spread across his face. He savored the memory, thinking to himself that there was nothing more entertaining than watching the lives of both men and women fall into ruin. His gaze then shifted, his mind moving from the past to his next project. He saw Amada Miyuki, and a new plan began to form. It was her turn. Later, as Miyuki nervously tried to hand a letter to someone, he casually stepped in, feigning distraction with his phone and effectively intercepting her. He watched as the rumors about Eiji began to circulate among the other students, who stared at their phones in discussion. His plan was working perfectly. Feigning concern, he then approached Miyuki in the hallway. His grin widened with malicious anticipation. He wondered just how far Eiji and Miyuki would fall, savoring the thought. The fabricated social media post he created, complete with a picture of a bruised arm, falsely claimed that Miyuki was being abused by her boyfriend, Ono. The effects of his scheme were already apparent. Inside the classroom, Miyuki worried, her arms crossed tightly. She noted that Eiji hadn't shown up since homeroom, and that the very students who had graffitied his desk were now frantically trying to erase their vandalism. Her gaze drifted out the window as a dreadful thought took hold. She couldn't help but wonder if he had quit school entirely, and if it was all because of her. Her anxiety mounted, fueled by the whispers of others who couldn't believe Kondo's senpai would spread such rumors. Overwhelmed, Miyuki clasped her hands to her face, feeling completely ignorant of the situation and muttering to herself that it wasn't so bad, a desperate attempt to cope. Meanwhile, from a distance, Eiji watched the school building from outside its gates. His expression was grim, his eyes narrowed as he too thought to himself, not bad. His presence, however, did not go unnoticed. Miyuki's head snapped up, her worried expression instantly replaced by one of wide-eyed, joyful relief as she called out his name. But her relief shattered in an instant. Eiji wasn't alone. He was walking away, holding hands with another girl. He held the other girl's hand firmly in his own as they departed. A smile vanished from Miyuki's face, replaced by a blank stare of utter disbelief. A single, confused sound escaped her lips. Her mind reeled, a single question echoing over and over. Why? The sight had left her frozen, her face a mask of disbelief and betrayal. Her shock curdled into a burning rage. She didn't know who that girl was, but in that moment, she saw her as nothing more than a homewrecker. Elsewhere in the Class 2B classroom, the homeroom teacher, Takanagi, looked out the window with a sigh of relief. He reflected on a student's reckless actions, but was ultimately just glad the boy was safe. He turned his attention back to the present, a few dozen minutes before the current homeroom period. Holding his attendance book, he formally announced to his students that the second semester was beginning. He stood before the assembled class, his gaze sweeping over the rows of students. Among them sat Miyuki, but one desk remained conspicuously empty. Deciding to proceed with his duties, he resolved to take attendance first. He began a roll call, a student named Ida responding when called. He then moved to the next name on his list. Ono. There was no response. Instead, the focus fell upon Ono's empty desk, its surface marred by cruel, painted words. Die loser. Get lost. The teacher's eyes widened behind his glasses, the graffiti confirming a grim reality. He addressed the entire classroom, his voice carrying a new weight of concern. He asked if anyone knew anything about Ono's situation. He listened as a student explained that Ono had felt unwell and gone to the nurse's office. Acknowledging this, the teacher instructed the class to line up for the gym, stating he would go check on Ono himself. As the other students began to leave, his attention was caught by Amada, who remained seated with a deeply troubled expression. She hurried after him into the hallway, calling out his name just as he was opening a door. In the nurse's office, Takanagi urgently addressed the school nurse, Mitsui, explaining the situation was about Ono. He asked her if Ono had returned, but she replied that he hadn't and that she was just about to go look for him herself. The nurse's expression filled with regret. She confessed that Ono had seemed strange and that something might have happened, lamenting that she should have stopped him from leaving, even by force. Her remorse hardened into resolve as she declared she would search the school. A memory surfaced of Ono in the infirmary bed, insisting he was just unwell and asking to be left alone to rest. Takanagi thanked her, his face grim. He decided on a course of action, stating he would first speak to the vice principal, who was currently occupied with the all-school assembly. He found the vice principal, who noted how problematic it was that the principal was tied up in the assembly at a time like this. Takanagi listened intently, with a weary but firm expression. The vice principal instructed the teacher to hold a strategy meeting right after school and to question the students in detail about what had transpired. Having received his instructions, Takanagi-sensei faced the classroom, acknowledging that he understood the task before him. He leaned forward on his desk, his gaze sweeping over the students. He began his address with a pointed question, asking if they all understood the concept of property damage. His words caused a stir in the classroom. The students shifted uncomfortably in their seats, a wave of unease rippling through the room. He then clarified the subject of his inquiry, gesturing toward an empty seat and stating that this was about Ono's desk. The students exchanged nervous glances. Miyuki, her expression troubled, admitted to herself that she didn't know who was responsible. However, recalling the hateful words written on the desk and Ono's condition, she could roughly imagine what had happened. Vile phrases like die loser and get lost had been scrawled across the surface. He continued his lecture, explaining that school desks are public property paid for by their parents' taxes. Damaging them, he stressed, is a proper crime. As he spoke, Miyuki lowered her head, her face a mask of distress. His voice grew louder, filled with conviction. He acknowledged that the culprit might try to justify their actions by claiming Ono was bad, but he vehemently declared that writing slander on someone else's desk is not allowed by anyone. He reminded them of recent events where arrests have been made for death threats against celebrities, warning them that the same excuses would not grant them forgiveness. His expression hardened. He insisted that this incident should not be dismissed with the simple word, bullying. It wasn't a childish prank. It was a crime that could not be overlooked. He demanded that they remember that fact, firmly. About 30 minutes earlier, Takanagi-sensei had given a stark warning to his class, his expression etched with concern. Now, an emergency meeting was underway in the conference room. The principal arrived late, apologizing as he finished a phone call, while the vice principal sat with a weary look. Takanagi and another teacher were already present, waiting. Ending his call, the principal suddenly bowed deeply before Takanagi-sensei, thanking him emphatically for the immediate contact. Takanagi, however, deflected the gratitude, suggesting the incident might represent a failure in his own class management that he needed to reflect on. The principal's expression hardened as he countered that nothing was more important than addressing this bad news. He sat with his hands clasped, quietly acknowledging that for teachers, there always matters for reflection. Grade Chair Iwai then spoke up, reassuring Takanagi that he had done everything he could. He observed that many people in their position would simply try to hide such an issue to protect their reputation. The principal voiced his agreement with Iwai-sensei, adding that their focus should be on the present and the future rather than dwelling on the past. Iwai then shifted the conversation, asking about Ono-kun's well-being after he left school early. He explained that since Takanagi had already questioned a few students, he had taken the liberty of calling Ono's parents himself. He relayed the details of his phone call, explaining that Ono's mother had asked her son if he was okay, since he had come home early feeling unwell. Iwai concluded his report. It seemed Ono had made it home safely. As he spoke, a scene unfolded showing Ono being led away by the hand by Ai Ichijo. Inside the faculty room, Takanagi-sensei addresses the vice principal, stating he will share the basic policy they had discussed. The vice principal listens, a look of approval on his face. The vice principal elaborates on their strategy, stressing that their first priority must be Ono-kun. He warns that if the boy ends up refusing to return to school or dropping out, all their efforts will have been for nothing. His colleague responds with conviction, his expression hardening as he agrees that they must provide firm support for the student. Meanwhile, in another part of the school, Kondo Seiji's attention is on his phone. His quiet moment is shattered as two younger students burst in, shouting his name and warning of trouble. The source of the trouble is revealed. The two students are being questioned by Takanagi-sensei. One of them nervously admits that they had planned to punish Ono and had graffitied his desk. Takanagi's expression is grim as he declares he is treating this as a crime and launching an investigation. Back in the present, Kondo listens to their report, his expression unreadable. He internally notes that the somber teacher acted quickly, musing that he had mistaken him for someone who would try to conceal such incidents. He seems unconcerned by the news, glancing back at his phone. He dismisses their worries, stating that even if the situation escalates, his father will handle it. His dismissive attitude prompts one of the students to speak up, reminding him that they only did it for his sake. The other student nervously asks if his reaction isn't a bit cold. In response, Kondo's demeanor shifts entirely. He glares at them, his voice laced with irritation as he demands to know when he ever asked them to do such a thing. His sharp rebuke leaves the two students frozen in place, their faces pale with shock and fear. He and his friend are confronted by Kondo Seiji, who stands over them with a dismissive laugh. Kondo claims he only shared his worries, placing the blame squarely on their shoulders for spreading it as a joke and even destroying school property. The student stammers in disbelief, protesting that they just... His friend with glasses tries to reason with Kondo, pointing out that there is no hard evidence against him. Kondo's casual facade vanishes, replaced by a cold, threatening glare. He orders them to deny everything, warning them that if they don't, they are finished. His eyes narrow with satisfaction. He inwardly reflects that he has just acquired 2 more slaves. Meanwhile, in a city park, Ono Eiji and Ai Ichijo sit on a bench, both panting heavily after a long run. Ono turns to her, asking if she's alright. She admits that keeping up with a man running at full strength is tough. He smiles, impressed, telling her that just being able to keep up at all is amazing. He continues, mentioning that he'd heard she turned down every club that tried to recruit her. Yet, when asked for help, she would perform at the level of an ace, demonstrating that she possesses both brains and brawn. As they walk, she begins to say something, addressing him as senpai, but he cuts her off, asking if they should continue their run. She looks away, a blush on her cheeks, muttering that he teases her too much. She wonders aloud if he is simply hopeless at explaining things or if he's being obtuse on purpose. He responds with a wide, knowing smile, suggesting it is probably the former. With a slight smile of her own, she calls him a liar. He walks with Ichijo down a quiet residential street, leading her toward an unknown destination. They soon arrive at a building with a sign that reads Kitchen Aono. Stepping through the entrance, he announces that he's home. A woman with short, dark hair greets him, welcoming him back and noting that he's early. She teases him, asking if he's skipping school. He explains with a weary smile that he wasn't feeling well, so he left early. The woman remarks that his junior was also leaving early, so he invited her to lunch. As they talk, Ichijo stands quietly in the doorway. This is Kitchen Ono, his family's restaurant. The establishment holds a deep family history. His late father was a chef who had trained at a famous hotel and saved his money to build a future. It was there that he fell in love with the boy's mother, who worked at the front desk. Together, they opened this Western-style restaurant. Now, the legacy is carried on by his brother, a culinary school graduate who serves as the second-generation owner, while his mother handles the accounting and waitressing. With a bright smile, his mother tells them that lunch is on her. She directs them to use the back break room, anticipating the imminent lunch rush. He turns to Ichijo to reassure her that it's fine, then looks back at his mother with a warm smile and thanks her. From the doorway, Ai Ichijo cautiously peeks into the main dining area of the restaurant, her expression a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. She steps forward, blushing as she formally introduces herself. With a slight bow, she explains that she is Ichijo Ai, Ono's junior, and expresses her gratitude for his constant help, apologizing for the sudden visit. Her formal introduction leaves Ono's mother and the other man on staff completely stunned. From behind them, Ono realizes he couldn't help but worry and had come to check on the situation. The girl remains flustered, while Ono's mother, hands clasped to her mouth, can only manage a breathless, "Oh my." The woman's shock quickly melts into delight. She exclaims that she never imagined Eiji would bring home such a cute girl, admitting how surprised she is. The man beside her nods in silent agreement. She warmly ushers them toward a table, encouraging them to relax and eat whatever they'd like. As they settle in, Ono crouches down, overwhelmed with embarrassment, his mind conjuring an absurd image of Ichijo hiding inside a small filing drawer. His mother, however, is perfectly composed, smiling as she tells Ai-chan to make herself at home. Ichijo, still blushing slightly, offers her sincere thanks. Once seated with a menu showing omelette rice and a cutlet dish, she looks up at Ono with an intense gaze and asks if he has any recommendations. In response to her question, he points to the menu, suggesting the special lunch, their signature omelette rice. Her eyes sparkle with excitement as she declares that it looks delicious. As she sat across from him, Ono watched her with a gentle, contented smile. He had already gone to the kitchen to put in her order. Leading her to a private, traditional-style room, he apologized for its plainness. She disagreed, finding it refreshing since neither her family home nor her apartment had a Japanese-style room. She looked around with a soft smile, remarking that the room felt warm. Ono explained that it was his mother and brother's break room, filled with their various hobbies. Seated at the low table, she observed that a house reflects its family's character. She told Ono his family seemed very close, admitting that she was jealous. His expression turned serious as she added quietly that her own family used to be warm like his too. The quiet moment was interrupted by Ono's mother, who arrived cheerfully with the special lunch. Ichiju's eyes widened in surprise at the impressive meal before her. Ono's mother then offered her a complimentary tea or coffee after the meal. With a pleased expression, Ichiju requested tea. The choice delighted Ono's mother, who clasped her hands and happily declared that she was also a tea lover. Ichiju smiled, pleased by the connection. He watched them, a fond but weary smile on his face. It figured, he thought to himself, that his mother was a tea lover. He watches as his mother gestures towards the meal she has set down, telling them to take their time and that she will bring tea once they are finished eating. He nods in acknowledgement, while Ichiju looks down, a faint blush on her cheeks, seemingly a little overwhelmed by the warm reception. Following tradition, they bring their hands together in a gesture of gratitude. In unison, they both offer thanks for the meal before beginning to eat. They take their first bites, their expressions immediately brightening with enjoyment. As Ichiju quietly murmurs how good the food is, Ono watches her and reflects on the absurdity of their situation, thinking how strange it is that just a short while ago, they were both prepared to die. His thoughts drift as Ichiju, seemingly overcome with emotion from the simple act of sharing a warm meal, lowers her gaze, a deep blush coloring her face. The brief moment of heavy reflection gives way to a comfortable atmosphere, and soon they are laughing and talking together as they eat. Holding her bowl, she tells him that everything is truly delicious, but that the tanjiro soup is especially comforting. Hearing her praise, he explains that it's his late father's special recipe. He recounts how his dad would simmer root vegetables and onions in a large pot, making it hearty and full of ingredients, a process that condensed the umami into a rich flavor even when using low-salt miso. He reflected on his late father, a man he could truly be proud of. Noticing Ichiju's reserved expression, he quickly waved his hands dismissively, reassuring her that her words were not insensitive. In fact, he explained with a smile, hearing his father praised made him happy. Ichiju quietly acknowledged his words. She looked down at the bowl of soup, a gentle smile gracing her lips. The taste and the story behind it led her to a simple conclusion. His father must have been a very kind man. He leaned back, pleased. I'm glad you like it, he said, closing her eyes to savor the flavor. She replied that the tanjiro itself told her everything she needed to know. He then reminded her that the meal was all you can eat. She agreed, expressing how lucky she felt to be eating such gentle, comforting food. Her expression suddenly shifted, the warmth draining from her face. Looking at him with troubled eyes, she posed a heavy question. Senpai, do I deserve to live? A memory surfaced of her standing on the school rooftop, her hand trembling over the safety fence. She had been agonizing over this very decision, unable to make a choice even as she stood on the precipice. She recalled standing there alone, under the moonlit sky, believing she had finally gathered the resolve to end her life. But in that final moment, something had held her back. Her thoughts returned to the present, to the delicious food before her. Then, she confessed the rest of the story as she clung to him, her voice trembling. It was then that she met him, that he had risked himself to save her. Her resolve begins to crumble. Tears stream down her face as she clutches her uniform, the weight of her confession and his presence overwhelming her. Seeing her distress, Ono speaks. He acknowledges that he doesn't understand the full extent of her suffering and that what he's about to say might sound irresponsible, but he feels compelled to say it anyway. She looks up at him, her cheeks flushed and eyes shimmering with unshed tears. She tells him plainly that she was saved simply because he was there. Her eyes overflow, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. He looks at her directly, his expression earnest as he finishes his thought. He tells her, with simple sincerity, that he wants her to live. His words shatter the last of her composure. The dignity she had maintained until this moment dissolves, and she breaks down into raw, unrestrained sobs. As he watches her weep, Ono realizes that this is the first time he is seeing the true, vulnerable person behind the facade, the girl named Ichijo Ai. Inside a room lined with bookshelves, Ono's mother approaches Ai Ichijo, apologizing for the wait as she sets down a tray. She presents an ornate teacup, announcing that it is a post-meal refreshment. As she serves it, Eiji observes that Ichijo seems to have calmed down a bit. Ichijo, smiling brightly, thanks her very much. In response to her thanks, Ono's mother explains with a warm smile that this tea is her top recommendation. She reassures Ai that although it's flavored with wine, the alcohol has been cooked out, making it safe for her to drink. Ai takes a tentative sip, closing her eyes to savor the flavor. Ono's mother adds that while it's delicious on its own, adding sugar makes one feel happy inside. Her eyes widen in delight as she holds the cup, exclaiming that it's delicious. Ono's mother beams, agreeing with her assessment. Ai adds that it smells wonderful and is indeed even better with sugar. The woman then asks Ai what kind of tea she likes. Ai reveals that she enjoys Darjeeling tea, prompting Ono's mother to light up, exclaiming that she does too. Their shared interest ignites a lively conversation. Ai mentions her recent fondness for Japanese black tea, and Ono's mother immediately offers to recommend a tea shop. Between them, Eiji sips his tea in silence, an impassive observer to their rapid bonding. Beaming with joy, Ono's mother tells Ai she is so happy it feels like she has her own daughter. She then makes a heartfelt request for Ai to be her friend, too, not just Eiji's. Visibly moved by the heartfelt request, Ai Ichijo blushes deeply, a warm and genuine smile spreading across her face as she readily agrees. Sure, with their new friendship established, the time comes for her to depart. As Ai gets up from the floor, she announces that she should be going. Eiji offers to walk her to the station, but she assures him she'll be fine on her own. She closes her eyes, a bittersweet smile forming as she thinks to herself that the day has been so enjoyable, the inevitable loneliness that follows will feel even more pronounced. Eiji watches her quietly, his expression thoughtful as he takes in her words. She turns to him with a gentle expression, simply stating, "It's okay." He continues to look on, a hint of concern on his face. Now standing together in the hallway, she makes a heartfelt confession. "Meeting you," she begins, "gave me a reason to be here." His expression softens at her words, a small, gentle smile appearing on his lips. As he stands by the doorway, ready to see her off, she calls out, "Hey, senpai." He turns back, his attention caught. He looks back to find her facing away from him. She asks quietly, but with weight, "We're friends now, right?" A light blush dusts her cheeks as she waits, her expression shifting to one of earnest hope. He replies without hesitation, "Of course." She turns back with a bright, happy smile, a light blush on her cheeks. She expresses her immense happiness and asks that they continue to look after each other from now on. As she begins to walk away, her gaze drifts towards the distant city skyline. Walking alone down a quiet residential street, a profound thought surfaces. This period might have been the happiest time of her entire life. The weight of this realization brings a deep blush to her face, her eyes shadowed by her bangs. Her expression becomes complicated as she tries to temper her feelings, reasoning with herself that, for now, just being friends is fine. Her thoughts are interrupted by the low rumble of an engine. A man in a formal suit stands beside an open car door, informing her that he has arrived to pick her up. She turns to the chauffeur, her expression now composed, and offers a simple thank you. Meanwhile, back at the restaurant, Eiji stands alone just inside the door he has closed behind her. The moment the door is shut, a powerful wave of emotion hits him with physical force. His body jolts as if struck, sweat beading on his face. He struggles to control himself, his body trembling. He realizes with frustration that he had been fine until this very moment, but now he can't stop shaking. He staggers, slumping against a wall in despair. Sweat beads on his forehead as he covers his face, overwhelmed by the thought of what he is supposed to do starting tomorrow. His mind drifts to the school, where he sees the reflection of other students before it's replaced by the menacing, shadowy figures of his tormentors. He can only imagine how bad the situation will become. In the empty classroom, he sits alone at his desk. A vase holding a small plant has been placed upon it, a cruel gesture typically used to memorialize a deceased student. A memory surfaces, cutting through the gloom, Ai Ichijo's bright, smiling face. He recalls that only when he was talking with her could he forget the pain. The thought brings a genuine smile to his lips. He reflects on the incredible way she had saved him. This brief moment of peace is shattered. Sitting on his bed, his phone buzzes with a notification. His expression immediately darkens with dread, anticipating another wave of humiliation. He stares at the screen, his eyes wide with disbelief. The message is from someone named Satoshi, who had previously sent a message of encouragement. The new text is an apology. Satoshi explains that his phone broke during a trip and asks if Eiji is okay. The name triggers a distant memory of a sunny day. A younger, carefree Eiji stands smiling between a cheerful girl with dark hair and a boy with light, spiky hair who is being called Satoshi. Pulled back to the present, his shock gives way to a quiet resolve. He quickly types a response on his phone. He sends his reply, stating that he'll manage somehow. Satoshi responds almost instantly, saying that's fine for now and asks if they can meet sometime at their usual family restaurant. He looks forward, his expression a mixture of apprehension and fragile hope. He remembers the crushing weight of his isolation, believing that everyone, from his classmates to his clubmates, had turned their backs on him. In his despair, he had even thought that Satoshi didn't understand. But Satoshi's message proved him wrong. The simple fact that his friends still treated him the same way he always had was enough to bring tears of relief to his eyes. That alone made him happy. He quickly confirms the meeting, arranging to see him at his family's restaurant, Kitchen Ono. Upon arriving at a cafe, he sees Imai Satoshi waving him over enthusiastically. He approaches the table where Satoshi is waiting, who notes that he was quick to arrive. The calm is shattered as Satoshi slams his hands on the table, his face contorted with regret. He apologizes profusely, shouting that he didn't realize Eiji was in an emergency. He insists that as his friend, it's a big deal, admitting he knew rumors were circulating but hadn't understood the severity. Overcome with guilt, he leans on Eiji's shoulder, asking if he could ever be forgiven for failing as a friend. Eiji, stunned into silence, can only utter his name. Satoshi sits up and shows him his phone, displaying the strange rumors spreading on social media. He explains that he doesn't use those platforms often, which is why he was completely unaware. He continues, clarifying that their classes were split up in their second year. That, combined with club trips, meant he had no idea what was happening to Eiji until just now. He grits his teeth, filled with regret. He admits that his reasons for being distant are just terrible excuses, lamenting the fact that he wasn't by Eiji's side when he was at his lowest. He offers a heartfelt apology. In response to the apology, Eiji, with his head bowed, quietly asks if Satoshi truly believes him. Satoshi looks back at him, his expression serious, and asks why he would even question that. A faint smile appears on Satoshi's face. He reassures Eiji, stating confidently that he knew from the very beginning that all the rumors were lies. He explains further, recalling how a junior from their club had shown him the social media post. Even then, Satoshi was certain of Eiji's innocence, knowing he wasn't the kind of person who would ever resort to violence. He adds that there was another crucial detail. The other person involved in the rumors was Miyuki. At this, a genuine smile spreads across Eiji's face, touched by his friend's unwavering faith. Satoshi concludes with conviction, certain that the entire situation had to be some kind of mistake. Back in the present, sitting across from each other, Satoshi mentions that their teacher, Takanagi, was also really worried about him. Eiji looks up, surprised by this revelation. He recounts how, after hearing about Eiji's troubles, he began asking other students for information. He recalls approaching 2 classmates to ask if they knew anything, but they simply replied that Eiji had apparently left school early. The students had dismissed his concern, alluding to the rumors circulating about Eiji. In response, Satoshi simply thanked them and walked away, his fist clenching in frustration and resolve. His search led him down a school hallway, where he was spotted by Takanagi-sensei. The teacher, looking relieved to have found him, calls out, "There you are." He approached Satoshi in the school hallway, his expression serious. He stated that he'd heard Ono Eiji had left early and directly asked Satoshi what was wrong. Satoshi's eyes narrowed with fury. He vowed that if anyone was trying to cover something up, he would punch them. The teacher, undeterred by the intensity, pleaded with the student. He begged Satoshi to tell him if he knew even a little about what had happened to Ono. Satoshi admitted that he'd been trying to find out, but couldn't find anything, his thoughts racing. Takanagi-sensei confessed that he had only grasped the full extent of the problem that very morning. Continuing down the hall, he pressed further, reminding Satoshi that he and Ono were childhood friends and asking if he had heard anything at all. After a moment of contemplation, Satoshi conceded that he had just found out as well. He looked up, his expression resolved, and agreed to tell the teacher everything he knew. Later, Takagi-sensei held up a device, his face grim as he reviewed its contents. He then showed the screen to Satoshi, revealing some piece of damning information. Satoshi reacted with immediate outrage. He shouted at the teacher, insisting that Eiji would never do something like what was being suggested. His outburst was met with calm understanding. Takanagi-sensei thanked Satoshi for telling him and asked that, if possible, he relay this sentiment to Ono as well. He offered reassurance, acknowledging that it might be scary, but affirming that they could rely on the adults. He promised to take full responsibility and solve the problem himself. He looks forward with earnest conviction, pleading for trust. He asks for even a little belief in what they are about to do. Satoshi considers the teacher's words, a slight smile on his face as he remarks on Takanagi's surprising passion before agreeing to the plan. Meanwhile, Eiji sits alone, his expression crumbling as tears begin to well in his eyes. The tears stream freely down his face, his features contorted in anguish and sorrow. Hunched over, he continues to weep as Satoshi sits opposite him, watching with a calm, steady gaze. The two of them sit in silence at a small table in a diner, the space between them heavy with unspoken emotion. Elsewhere, Miyuki walks alone down a quiet residential street, her steps filled with purpose. She pants, catching her breath as a single, urgent thought consumes her. She must apologize. Driven by this realization, she breaks into a desperate run, her hair flying behind her. She finally skids to a halt, having reached her destination, a service counter inside the school. Her face is a mask of weary resolve, her eyes shadowed with guilt. A single, urgent thought consumes her. She has to apologize to Eiji. Miyuki stands in a kitchen, her expression somber as she cooks. Her thoughts drift to a memory of a happier time. Eiji, laughing and carefree as he walked with his friends after school, holding her hand. The memory shifts to a moment when they were both together, smiling brightly under the trees. It was a time when Eiji felt his life had truly turned around. After being cheated on and falsely accused, he had found himself adored by the most beautiful girl in school. He looks back on that period with a gentle, contented smile, the memory a source of genuine happiness. But for Miyuki, that shared past is now a source of torment. Her face contorts in anguish as a single, desperate thought consumes her. She must take back her happy future with Eiji. Driven by this resolve, she finds him standing in a doorway. His back is turned to her, and beside him stands Ai Ichijo. The sight stops her cold. Her eyes fly open in utter disbelief. Before her, Ai Ichijo smiles sweetly at Eiji, her hands clasped together. Peeking from around a corner, Miyuki's shock hardens into suspicion. She cannot understand why the school idol would be at Eiji's house. Her unspoken question hangs in the air as the scene inside becomes clear. Ai watches with a warm smile as Eiji is pulled into a welcoming hug by his mother. She wore a gentle, contented expression, her cheeks flushed with a soft blush. Watching her from the shadows, Miyuki recognized that look instantly. There was no mistaking it. That was the face of a woman who had fallen in love. Her mind reeled with the question of why, of all people, it had to be Ichijo Ai. Miyuki had always believed she was the only one who truly knew Eiji's charm. The thought sent a jolt of panic through her. Hiding just out of sight, a terrible fear gripped Miyuki. She had to hurry, or Eiji would be taken from her. Her rival was no ordinary girl. Ai Ichijo was a perfect superhuman, excelling in both academics and sports, from a prestigious family, who had entered the school with the highest exam scores in its history. And yet, despite her perfection, she was famously known to hate men. Miyuki had heard the rumors herself, that Ai rejected every single confession she received. Lost in these troubling thoughts, a sudden voice cut through the silence, calling her name, Miyuki-chan. Her eyes widened in pure terror. She looked up to see Eiji's mother standing over her. The woman's voice was calm as she asked, "What are you doing hiding in a place like that?" The woman's gaze was steady, her expression unreadable, as Miyuki remained frozen on the ground, unable to form a response. Her composure finally shattered. A torrent of panic questions spilled out as she stammered. Don't tell me. You know about it? Did Eiji tell you?" She stands nervously before Eiji's mother, stammering that Eiji is inside and asking what she needs. In response, the woman bows deeply, apologizing. She explains that, as a parent, she feels she shouldn't get too involved in their relationship, leaving Miyuki speechless and sweaty. The woman's demeanor shifts. Her voice sharpens as she asks what Miyuki means. She presses the point, questioning if Miyuki will understand if she just listens to her own heart. Her voice drops, the atmosphere growing heavy and dark. She reveals a chilling truth. She noticed Miyuki was cheating even before Eiji did. The revelation strikes Miyuki with visible terror. She begins to recount the memory, explaining that it was during a tea gathering for the local shopping district. There, she had seen Miyuki holding hands with a man who wasn't Eiji, a smile on her face as she walked with a light-haired young man. She clarifies her thoughts at the time, reasoning that since they were just high schoolers and not married, they were free to date, even if it meant they might hurt each other and eventually grow apart. She had reasoned that Eiji was keeping quiet about the situation simply because it was too painful for him to discuss. With a somber expression, she admits that while she found it unfortunate, she had concluded that the two had mutually agreed to break up. That was her assumption, until she realized she was wrong. That all changed on Eiji's birthday. A memory surfaces of a happy family moment, with Eiji smiling alongside his parents next to a slice of birthday cake. She turns her head, a faint, cold smile playing on her lips as she prepares to deliver her final judgment. Her expression hardens as she states plainly that she understood Miyuki had betrayed Eiji. Miyuki, flustered, tries to object, but Eiji's mother cuts her off, declaring that she has no obligation or reason to listen to any excuses. Her face falls into shadow as she asks Miyuki to stop with the strange excuses, explaining that she doesn't want to hate her any more than she already does. The weight of the accusation crushes Miyuki, who can only stammer out a quiet, desperate apology. But Eiji's mother refuses to hear it. Citing their decade-long acquaintance, she offers one last piece of advice instead. Her mind flashes to Kondo's words to Miyuki, that while love may be free, no one has the right to toy with or trample on pure affection. The consequence of that action is the image of her son, broken and alone. She concludes that while it may not be a crime, it is a sin heavier than that. Brought back to the present, Miyuki desperately pleads to see Eiji. Standing firm, his mother tells her that from now on, she should at least act properly. To Miyuki's plea, her response is a single, resolute word, her face contorted with protective fury. No. She continued her verbal assault, her voice cold as she questioned what kind of mother would ever forgive a cheating woman who had so carelessly trampled on her precious son's feelings. Miyuki could only stand there, her face a mask of shock and horror. Her hand clenched slightly as she conceded that, ultimately, the choice was Eiji's to make. However, she had one final demand from Miyuki. From that moment on, she was to never show her face in front of her again. She delivered the final, crushing blow with piercing eyes, declaring with absolute certainty, "You are not worthy of my son." The words struck Miyuki with the force of a physical impact. Tears streamed down her face as the weight of the condemnation settled upon her. Her mind retreated to a happier time, a memory of sitting beside a laughing Eiji at the restaurant. His mother and the other man from the kitchen had been there too, smiling warmly as they served them, a perfect picture of acceptance and joy. The memory shattered, leaving Miyuki collapsed on the pavement outside. She sat amidst the encroaching darkness, her bag beside her, whispering denials into the empty air, unable to accept the reality of her situation. From the doorway, Eiji's mother looked down at the weeping girl. She stated coldly that Miyuki was in front of the store and her presence was a nuisance to the business, ordering her to hurry and move along as tears dripped onto the ground. With a final, impassive look, she offered a single, chilling word of dismissal. "Goodbye, Miyuki-chan." The door slid shut with a soft click, and a sign was hung, its message stark and final: closed. Miyuki walked away, a lone figure retreating from the restaurant. The thought echoed in her mind, a painful realization of a place she could never return to, a happiness she could no longer reach. She walked home alone, tears streaming down her face as the weight of the day's events settled upon her. Reaching her own house, she paused for a moment at the entrance before stepping through the doorway. Just inside, her mother greeted her with a warm smile, remarking on her early return. Miyuki quietly announced that she was home. Her mother continued, teasingly observing that she and Eiji must still be as close as ever. The comment struck a nerve, and Miyuki's face darkened with embarrassment, the thought of Eiji's poor health adding to her discomfort. She continued reminiscing with a fond expression, speaking of Miyuki's wonderful youth and reminding her how she had always declared her intention to become Eiji's bride one day. The innocent words landed with devastating force, and Miyuki's expression froze in horror. She could only manage a strained, barely audible agreement. Turning away quickly, she pleaded with her mother not to remind her of such embarrassing childhood declarations. She then made an excuse, stating she had an upcoming test and needed to study. Her mother, oblivious to her daughter's inner turmoil, simply wished her good luck. The moment she was out of sight, she twisted the doorknob and hurried into the sanctuary of her room, her composure finally breaking. She lay collapsed on her bed, the weight of her actions pressing down on her. It wasn't just Eiji and his Annie she had wronged. Tears streamed down her face as the full realization struck her. She had betrayed her own mother, too. Her mind spiraled into self-loathing. She saw herself as the worst kind of person, constantly betraying those she cared for. It was far too late to pretend to be innocent, too late to suddenly care for Eiji now. She wasn't the victim here. She had actively helped in the conspiracy to frame and isolate him. Eiji, she thought, must be suffering so much more. There was no way she could ever be forgiven for what she had done. Pushing herself up, she moved to her desk and pulled open a drawer, searching for something within. Her fingers found it, a photograph from their school's entrance ceremony. A smiling Eiji stood beside her, a crack running through the image, mirroring their shattered connection. The memory was too much to bear. She clutched the photo to her chest, a fresh wave of sobs racking her body. Her face contorted in pure anguish, tears flowing without end. Kneeling on the floor, a grim resolve settled over her. She picked up her phone, her fingers typing a message to Kondo senpai, telling him she wanted to see him. She knew there was no other choice. Staring at the screen, her face hardened. If this was the path she was on, then she had no choice but to become a completely despicable woman. Meanwhile, at the Ono family restaurant, Eiji prepared to leave for the day. His parents wished him well, but he barely registered their words. A sharp pain shot through his stomach. He was in a terrible condition. He stood at the entrance of his home, the morning light spilling in from the open doorway. Waiting for him was Ai Ichijo. Her face lit up with a brilliant smile. She greeted him cheerfully, calling him senpai. The morning sun caught her light hair as she repeated her bright, "Good morning." Her cheerful expression faltered into surprise as he abruptly began to shut the door in her face. His face flushed with embarrassment as her confused voice came from the other side. She questioned why he was closing the door, explaining that she had woken up early specifically so they could walk to school together. From inside, the young man in the kitchen urged him to hurry and go, noting that she had come all this way to pick him up. His mother, overhearing the conversation, immediately recognized the voice as Ai-chan's. She then gave him a gentle push toward the entrance, encouraging him to go on. He relented with a quiet, resigned agreement. His mother stepped forward, greeting Ai-chan with a warm smile and thanking her for coming. As Eiji stood by looking mortified, his mother realized this was the perfect chance for Ai to ask whatever she had come for. She then cheerfully mentioned that they were having oyster fry for dinner that night, a popular seasonal special, and asked if Ai-chan enjoyed it. Eiji, now smiling, added a suggestion for it to be served with plenty of tartar sauce. His mother beams at Ai Ichijo, her expression warm and welcoming as she insists that for her, food at their home is always free. The kind offer makes Ai blush. She expresses feeling bad for being treated so many times and promises that next time, she will be the one to pay. Her mood then brightens considerably as she happily exclaims her love for oyster fry. In response, Eiji's mother reassures her not to worry about it, adding that they can also prepare takeout, so she should feel free to ask anytime. Ai looks at her with admiration, remarking on how responsible she is. With the friendly exchange concluded, she gently pushes a surprised AG towards the door, telling him it's time to get going. AI thanks her warmly, adding that she is already looking forward to the oyster fry. He stands beside AI at the doorway, still slightly flustered, and announces to his mother that he is leaving. From inside, his mother watches them go, a faint, knowing smile gracing her lips. The two walk side by side down the sunlit street. As they head off, AG turns to AI and wishes her a good day.